All right, we have a very special guest with us right now. I can almost guarantee that you have seen what he's been in. I'm going to let him introduce himself to all of you right now.
Hey guys, it's me, Brian O'Halloran. I'm really not even supposed to be here today, but you may know me from those films called Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma, and a bunch of others.
So, of course, we got to talk about Clerks. What is it like to be in a cult classic? People love that movie. When you were first filming it, did you think it was going to take off like that?
No, when we were first making it, we all had regular 9-to-5 jobs. So the first hurdle was it going to get done? And then the second thing was, well, now it's done, who's going to see it? Because, we were just some guys from Jersey, with a 16 millimeter camera and some guys who came down from Canada to help and be a part of it. And thankfully, Kevin and Dave and Scott, who went to film school, knew what they wanted to do with it, and they followed along with it. And it was that kind of time in movies in 93 and 94 where a lot of these independent small films kind of broke out to be commercial success, like El Mariachi and Reservoir Dogs and Slacker and a bunch of others. So the industry in general, the distribution industry in general, were looking for these kind of productions that were made on their own, independently, no help from them, and then they would go to these film festivals, and then they would be bought, and a lot of the times the filmmakers like, look, I just want to pay my bills kind of thing, and they would get a steal of a deal kind of thing, and get it out there. And then we got out there, a black and white movie for that matter, about a dude at a convenience store and the dude at the video store next door, and it's a day in the life slice of what that was about. Just connected with people.
So, and that actually goes right into my next question. What do you think it is about that movie that connected with people to the extent that they love it to this day? They still watch it. They still quote lines in the movie. Like, what do you think it was that made that movie so special?
Well, you've either worked that type of job where you worked retail, or you've been into those type of convenience stores or those kind of shops where the people kind of know that they don't want to be there, that they have better ideals for themselves, that they know that they're just going through the motions. And then that's also the time, in your early 20s where you're out of school and you're supposed to have a degree and you're overeducated, underworked kind of thing, where what happens now, there's really no handbook as to what goes on next. And I think to this day it still happens where kids get pumped out of schools and they don't know where they want to go next.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about your origin story. Tell people a little bit about where you're from and when did you think that, oh wow, this is what I want to do for a living?
Well, my family, all of them, my two older brothers, one who's 6 years and one who's 9 years older than me, and my parents all came from Ireland and emigrated to New York City. So my father emigrated first in 1965, and then my mother, with my two older brothers, followed afterwards. Then I was born in New York City in 1969, and then we lived in New York City till 1979. Then we moved over to Jersey, northern Jersey for 4 years in the Palisade Park area, and then down to the central Jersey area in the Old Bridge area, not far, like 20 minutes north of where the Quick Stop is, and that whole area. So in growing up in like an Irish kind of Catholic kind of family, so singing and playing music and watching movies, that's like storytelling is kind of in our genetics, it's in our makeup kind of thing. So acting as a kid in middle school I did the plays then. In high school I didn't really do any of the plays until like junior year in high school, and then senior year as well. Went to college, local community college, took all the theater I could, and then just started going to local community theaters to audition and having success in local community theaters and doing some off-Broadway stuff, that I was able to parlay that into other things. And then Kevin Smith, this young guy, came out of a dropout out of Vancouver Film School, brought his two film school buddies. He'd written a script about the job that he was living every day, about being the convenience store clerk, and taking an aspect of that, putting it in a script, auditioned at a theater I had worked out of, and I auditioned, and I got the gig, and the rest is history.
So, how did things change for you, career wise, after Clerks came out and took off like that?
Well, I mean, it took a while for it to really get that kind of buzz, and it wasn't theatrically. It did okay. I mean, for the percentage, for the
Right.
return of investment, it did killer business because for it was bought for $250,000, but made $3 million in its box office. But where it made most of its money, though, was the video rental. You know, when VHSs and Blockbusters were still around and stuff like that. So that's where it was passed. A tape would be bought or passed around from place to place. College campuses were a huge fertile ground for that movie to be passed around from person to person. I mean, even back in '94, there was the celebration of Woodstock kind of thing, the anniversary Woodstock concert, where they had a whole weekend of bands playing up in Woodstock, and at night they would show movies, and this was one of the movies that was shown to tens of thousands of stoned and who knows what they were on, dudes and chicks just sleeping out on that giant lawn again, and it was that kind of word of mouth thing that it just connected. So what it did was, I mean, I went out to LA to try to do the young actor thing and get an agent and meet with different studios to try to and I did. And I auditioned and stuff like that, and it was a good, definitely a massive foot in the door compared to other young actors at the time. This was something that was known to the film festival world, a movie that I had done, and it was also they had seen my work, so they kind of knew what I could do.
So, obviously, you have a great resume of films that you've been in, not only Clerks, but other great films as well. Is there a particular role that you would consider your favorite that you enjoyed portraying the most?
I mean, I do enjoy when Kevin writes for the character Dante. I'm not going to lie. But I enjoy everything that Kevin has given me to do. You know, Grant Hicks, the news reporter. You know, Gil Hicks from Mallrats. We gave the name Sean Hicks to the guy from Chasing Amy. But I enjoy those roles. I mean, there's a movie I did called Brutal Massacre, a comedy that came out in 2009. It's a mockumentary about the making of a horror film. So I play the first AD. So you're seeing the crew make this really bad horror film. And it's with David Naughton and Gunnar Hansen and Ellen Sandwich, all these great iconic horror film icons. And it was kind of a fun tongue-in-cheek look at the film industry, which I enjoyed playing.
Do you enjoy like the comedy genre, or are there other genres that you enjoy more? Like,
oh no, I definitely enjoy comedy. Comedy, although it's very hard to do right. I mean, not everybody can do comedy, but I enjoy doing it. Serious drama is always great, and if I can do a period piece, which I've done with plays, I do all the time. I enjoy those, but. You know, there's not one over the other. I'm more known for comedies, obviously, when it comes to films. But when it comes to theater, I like doing more drama.
Mm-hmm. So for anybody who's listening who wants to get into this business, who wants to have the success that you have, what advice would you give them?
You got to put in the work. And in that regard, what I mean is you got to research. If you want to be in the acting side of it, then you got to find yourself some really great coaches and great teachers to put you through your paces. If you want to be in the writing game, write things, take it to a local theater or whatever, and they'll workshop your stuff. You'll hear other actors say the words that you want to see get produced, and that's a good way to do the work. If you're talking about producing, go to the film festivals and talk to other producers. And there's a lot of paying your dues where you're doing things without any pay and little sleep and barely any food. But if you are a filmmaker who wants to do something independently and you're asking for a lot of favors, let's say, the one thing I always try to tell them is feed them well. McDonald's, a pizza, that ain't going to cut it. Find people who have parents or someone who has connections to a restaurant to donate really good hot food. A really good meal will go a long way when you're asking people to do 12, 14-hour days for you.
Absolutely. Let everybody know how to keep in touch with you on social media, all that good stuff.
Sure. So you could reach out to me through Twitter and Instagram at Brian, the letter C, as in Christopher, Brian C. O'Halloran at both Twitter and Instagram, and the Brian C. O'Halloran on Facebook.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me.